candidates in the market are really interested about how they get noticed.
You need to know who to speak to and when to speak to them.
People come to us to rely on that experience. It's to do with their careers. It's absolutely essential that you go with the experience and people who've been there and done that.
Buyouts of bonuses to notice periods to all sorts of things. It became horribly complex. And we only got the deal over the line because we're able to do that and have that type of conversation with them.
Welcome to Macroscope, your lens into real estate hiring and careers. Brought to you by McDonald & Company.
Hello, I'm Peter Moore. I'm CEO of McDonald & Company, the largest pure-play real estate recruiter worldwide.
I'm Roberta Barlow. I'm a director in the development and technical sector. I've been in real estate recruitment for 20 years and work in search and selection in the UK and European markets.
Hi, I'm Howard White. I'm a senior director in the investor and funds team at McDonald & Company. I have over 20 years recruitment experience both in the UK and Asia.
So we're talking today about senior level hiring into the real estate industry, and perhaps we can dispel some myths, talk about how we go about it, how we do it in a different way from maybe our competitors in the market. Certainly there's probably quite a lot of snake oil out there, I think, and secrecy about how the process has gone about. And I think a lot of candidates in the market are really interested about how they get noticed. So there's lots of topics we can talk about.
Sure.
We've worked together for quite a long time now, Roberta.
We have.
Over
20 years?
Seems like only yesterday. And you know, I think we're a different type of business to our competitors out there. We're very much a relationship business, not only internally, but externally as well. Mm-hmm. You know, we've been around 35 years and our value is about the power of our networks and our access to people. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the network is a key thing. We can use technology, we can use AI, everybody uses it in the market. However, network is paramount. You need to know who to speak to and when to speak to them. And it's really important that you maintain that network throughout your career, not only at a junior level, but also working your way through to a senior level as well.
Do you think it's as important to know who not to call as it is who to call?
Oh, absolutely. If you're working on an assignment, it's one of the key things when you're talking to a client from the outset. The discussion is around what they're trying to achieve by the hire, the personality, obviously the job description, the responsibilities.
Yeah.
But a key thing is to understand where to look for people, who you can approach, and absolutely who you are hands off with.
Yeah.
That's really, really important.
Yeah. So the early stages of a search process are really important in terms of the job description, personal description, remuneration budgets, top end.
Yeah, absolutely. You do need to understand the parameters that you've got to work within, albeit things may change a little through the process, depending upon what candidates are available.
Yeah.
But you do need to have a really clear vision of what you're trying to actually uncover within the market and within your network.
Do you use a process that I use, which is must have, nice to have? Yeah,
definitely. So must-haves, yeah, that's a criteria that you can quickly discover through most candidates.
Yeah.
The nice-to-haves, yeah, well, we all know what they are, but if you can get all of them, then fantastic. But I think you've just got to prioritise what's the most important for the clients.
Yeah. Roberta, how important do you personally think your personal networks in the real estate industry are to delivering a really successful assignment for a client?
Really important. It might be that somebody that I speak to at a senior level isn't looking for a move or interested in a move, but within their network, they will be able to refer another candidate to me that they would recommend. It's really important that the senior network that I maintain will actually answer the phone when I call them as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Rather than leaving numerous messages. So it's just having access to those people.
Yeah.
And it could be directly approaching them about a role, or it might be talking to them about their immediate network that they could refer to me. And you know, quite often that works well.
It provokes a really interesting point, doesn't it? It's what percentage of candidates do we think we place at a senior level that are passive, i.e. not actively looking? You know, out of the searches you've completed over the last 5-10 years, Howard, how many would you say are not actively looking in the market.
Yeah, the strongest candidates typically are not active. They're busy, they're doing deals, they've got their head down, they're worrying about their career. They need sort of our experience to approach them and actually give them a differentiator, give them a new idea about what would be good for their career at a senior level.
Yeah. You agree that the majority of successful candidates you place at senior level are passive?
Yeah, I've got a wide network of senior level candidates that I know would be open to certain opportunities at certain points in their career. So there's people that I've spoken to that I've placed in a more junior role. And
30 years ago.
30, yeah, thank you. That are now at a more senior level.
Yeah.
And I know there's certain opportunities that they'd be interested in, and it's not always driven by a salary or a bonus. It could be driven by a specific client base. They want to pivot into a slightly different part of the market, or it's a trophy asset that they want to deliver, or a really exciting regen development opportunity. Quite often when we've got retained assignments on, I'll speak to the directors in the business and get their take on who they know, who are their points of contact elsewhere that I might not be directly speak to, or my direct contacts, but through Howard or yourself or another director, I've got access to such a broad, wide network of candidates. I'd be very surprised if other search firms have got that reach.
So it brings us on to a really interesting point, doesn't it, about how we go about senior level hire, search process, whatever terminology you end up using, search, headhunting, senior recruitment, whatever, about how we do it differently. And I think one of the key things for me is that you and me, if we take on an assignment, will complete all the work ourselves.
Yeah.
Using our network.
And rolling our sleeves up.
How do traditional headhunting search businesses go about a senior mandate?
They would use an outdated model with just a research team and actually wouldn't be doing the work themselves, and actually would actually have the personal relationships where actually we know the market, where people come to us to rely on that experience. It's to do with their careers. It's absolutely essential that you go with experience and people who've been there and done that. AI is brilliant, tech is brilliant to assist our decision making, may help with the long list, but actually the short list typically is someone that we would know or recommend that would probably be off piece to what the client originally briefed us on.
That's right. It's about knowledge and creativity. I mean, you're right. At the end of the day, anyone can create a long list.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of data out in the market.
My son could sit there and create a head of development long list for a London-based developer using AI in 3 minutes. But as we've said, the majority of successful candidates we place are passive candidates.
Yeah.
They're not going to be out there looking. And it's about the creativity and value we add through that really clever idea. I
think it's understanding, from my perspective on the development side of things, projects that people have actually delivered, clients that they've worked for, the delivery method that they've used, and an understanding of how far through a process that development director takes a project is a really key thing to understand.
Yeah.
So
do you delve deeper and find out how their co-workers on those projects have dealt with them and what they think of them on those projects? Well, they actually did deliver that work they say that they were responsible for.
Yeah, quite often I will know other people that have worked on the same development and have spoken to them in the past. So yeah, it's quite interesting to understand market perception of various different candidates as well, because obviously it's important. It's important that people understand that their PR, their own personal PR, it is important to maintain in a positive way.
So do we think real estate is more personality, credibility, perception led than any other profession out there?
It's difficult to say that because I've worked in real estate for so long, I haven't got a direct comparator, but it's certainly important for people to make themselves visible. If they want to progress their career in the market, they need to be visible to everybody. They need to be at events. They need to be keynote speakers. Yeah. They need to be on press releases for their business.
It's absolutely a relationship-led business, isn't it? You do deals with people that you know and you like and you respect and you trust.
Yeah. And you trust. Trust is a big thing.
That's right. Real estate is much more personality, credibility, reputation led than other industries. If you're a lawyer, it's the cases you've won and the case law that you've established. For us, it's about who you know and the ability to pick up the phone, do a deal. For investors and developers, the values are in off-market deals. I'm often asked by candidates how headhunters go about finding people for roles and how they make themselves visible for that once in a lifetime role that they just cannot miss. What sort of advice have you got to senior candidates working in the market who certainly aren't looking but do not want to miss that once in a lifetime role? What do you think they should be doing?
I think it's about building a relationship with a recruiter. There's independent advice and experienced advice to their career. So having that knowledge with the recruiter is actually key. So you can actually understand what your shared goals are, what your vision might be for your next move, and if that's realistic, and if that once a lifetime role is to appear, when should we talk? What is it about that move that you want?
So there's the people you've been talking to for 20 plus years that you might not have placed, but are still looking for that once in a lifetime role.
It's essentially, yes. The good people are probably busy in actually the tenure of that organisation, and they're happy in their role, but actually that next move is actually very difficult.
Yeah.
So again, you go to someone with experience, credibility to understand what that could look like.
Yeah. I mean, one of the key ways to access a passive candidate market is old school traditional headhunting, is, to talk to the candidate base that talk through job descriptions, talk about whether they've got any clever ideas. Yeah. How often do you do that, Roberta?
Oh, quite often. I've not got, I don't think there's a time when I've been working on an assignment when I've not spoken to somebody within my network and asked if they've got any referrals. I might have run the role by them initially and then it's not the right time for them. And then, been really quite open and asked them who they might recommend in the market or even somebody within, with their immediate network that might well be interested or suitable for that role. But one thing that candidates should do and should make a note of is to make themselves visible in the real estate market themselves. So that's by going to networking events, speaking at events, perhaps making sure that their own personal PR, they've had to think about how they can promote themselves within their own organisation.
So it's like thought leadership, press articles, opinion pieces, that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then they will be visible to clients that are potentially looking to hire at their level or for that next step for them. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So one of the real values that we have acting as a consultant third-party advisor in searches of this nature is that we have the ability to change misconceptions and preconceptions about parties. How often do you ring them up and speak to them and change their mind about their perception or misconception about a client or a role?
That happens a lot, and that's again why they come to us for our experience, and we can give them that different dynamic or different point of view of a particular client.
Yeah.
But again, we've built that relationship with that person, so they trust us in our commercial judgment to say, actually, we advise you to go and see them, go and have coffee with them. So at the very least, it's going to build that network. It could be a joint venture partner, it could be a company going to do a deal with in the future. So actually, that personal development of that network is important as well. It's not just about saying, I don't want to work for them.
That's right. It's not that binary. And we have that ability to ring them up and change their mind and give them up-to-date information.
Yeah, they can make an informed decision then, rather than something that might be a perception that might have been created quite a while ago, because we should be brand ambassador for our clients and understand their vision and their values and what their business plan is moving forward for the next 12, 18 months, 5 years. So with that, there may be change being created within that business, which might align well with a certain candidate's ideals for their new role.
I think one of the hardest and most complex part of putting together a senior hire is ultimately the negotiation of terms and remuneration, because it can become really, really complex.
It can when there's L-tips involved and different types of bonus mechanisms.
Yeah, that's right. And if a client were to negotiate and try and agree that direct with a candidate, it can go horribly wrong because there's no one in the middle to maintain that relationship. So we have a unique position in the sense that we can be very honest with a client, very honest with a candidate, and if we think there's grounds to bring them together, we can bring them together whilst maintaining their mutual relationship for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it just diffuses what could be a difficult conversation. If initially their ideas about remuneration don't align, we're there to be able to buffer that, but also to talk openly with client and candidate about how we can bring their align or make it aligned for them both, so everybody's happy.
I mean, so I recently had an offer, a financial offer made to a candidate for a CEO role of a new development, and the financial aspects probably covered 4 pages, from LTIPs to bonus to retention bonus to short-term incentives to base salary to buyouts of bonuses to notice periods to all sorts of things. It became horribly complex.
Yeah.
And what happened was the candidate became very focused on what he was going to earn in 1 year. And actually it was a sort of 3 or 4 year program. And we only got the deal over the line because we're able to do that and have that type of conversation with them. So with senior hires, Howard, how important is money, total remuneration, do you find?
It is an important consideration, but essentially the reason for that move is probably down to the culture, down to the leadership team they might be going to, the growth. So money is important, but it's certainly not the only driving factor in that decision.
So if money was evidently the most important factor, what alarm bells would ring?
Without we worried that they are thinking more short term.
Yeah.
Actually, what is it about this move they want? They want a medium to long term career move, and if it's just about financials, it probably mean you're not aligned.
Yeah, that's right.
And you can put in place longer term incentive plans, etc., to reward that person, but ultimately you need to have probably shared values, shared goals, shared drivers in order to make that move successful.
Why do most people make a move? Is it because so it's not principally because of money, but money is important, right? And that's absolutely right. The remuneration has got to be right. And I always say to clients that generally candidates don't move unless they're paid somewhere around 15% plus more than they're currently on. But I've certainly moved candidates on less remuneration, because in terms of the hierarchy of needs and what people are looking for, if the role is with the right organization, with the right investment and the right future, and it's exciting and fast paced, and they're moving from somewhere that's moribund, doesn't have investment, it's pretty much a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah, recently I've placed somebody in a senior level role and they've moved for what I would say is probably parity for the first 12 to 18 months, but long term.
That often happens, right?
Yeah, they've got a great incentive program. It's the right business. They've got the right growth plan in place. So yeah, for them, it was an easy move.
So when running a senior mandate, how often are clients asking you to consider internal applications and benchmark them against the rest of the market?
I would say that's quite often. We'll get us to do that for various different reasons. But what they will do is go through the same process as other candidates that are out in the market, which there is a benefit from having internal candidates. Obviously, historically, they've got, knowledge about the client. They're likely to know all of the senior leadership team, values are aligned, etc. Yeah. But what they don't bring is new ideas. What they don't bring may be a slight nuance in skill set. What do you think, Howard?
That's a really good point. Yeah, they're not bringing additional new skills from other organisations.
And also probably depends on what type of growth phase that the company's at as well. Whether they want fresh ideas, or do they want someone who's got current existing relationships with joint venture partners or capital partners? Or do you actually need to bring in new ideas with that?
Yeah, it may be that somebody needs somebody with a certain skill set because they're setting up a new platform, as an example, or they're going into a slightly different sector that they haven't got the internal capacity to deal with that. So, yeah, I think it's really important for us to understand from a client perspective, what is the aim of the role and what internal candidates need to be included, and making sure that they go through the same process.
As a company, we would undertake really scientific benchmarking, remuneration benchmarking. And Macroscope Company for the past 20 plus years of undertaking the global benchmark real estate salary survey. So we're able to draw on really, really complex and informative data sets. And the data set for us, the senior candidate market globally suggests that most hires at director or above move for 22% plus. I think in the UK, it's probably 10-15%. I think probably in the US and other markets, it might be more. We recently completed a CEO hire for a major Asia developer that was, the total remuneration package was $1.7 million US. And that was a 28% increase on that candidate's previous remuneration. One of our USPs, if they could be more than one, is the power of our network and our connections that, for instance, you have developed over the last almost 25 years, right?
That's key. It's the depth of that relationship as well, though. So you have access to passive candidates, the range of people across the market. You've got to utilise that experience and those relationships.
Yeah.
And I think we're able to demonstrate quite a long list of successful placements year in, year out, and that's during 35 years of being around.
Yeah, I mean, and we operate globally, from the Bahamas to Australia to Asia to Vietnam to Scotland.
Yeah, all using the same database.
Exactly. But the database is only one thing, isn't it? That's our foundation. Data is our foundation, but our secret sauce is our personal relationships and our ability to access passive candidates when we need them.
Yeah.
And gain and find out that really critical bit of information that other people can't find. When we're negotiating as a group somewhere around $7 million US of salaries into the real estate industry every month, month in, month out, and we have done for the past 30 plus years, from the US to the UK to Asia. The global real estate industry probably has become slightly less mobile than it was when you were in Hong Kong, when there was quite a big inflow of Western talent into Asia. But certainly one of our unique selling points, I think, is the ability for clients to access international candidates with really unique skill sets to come to the UK or come to other geographies that we operate in to complement shortlists.
If you're exploring your next leadership hire and want to learn how we can support you, head to the show description for more details. To connect directly with a consultant, visit mcdonaldandcompany.com/contact or subscribe to @McDonald & Co on YouTube for more episodes of the Macroscope. You can also find us on Spotify.